as Ginger said, my name's Nick Holzherr. I run a business in Birmingham called Whisk.com. Today, I was asked to speak for about 20-30 minutes, and then afterwards we're going to have, I think, about 10, 15, 20 minutes of questions and answers as well. So if you've got any questions, do keep them and ask me after I've spoken. I'm going to speak a little bit about what I did before I was on the Apprentice. I'll speak a little bit about the Apprentice itself, and then I'll speak about some of the lessons I've learnt for the last 4 or 5 years that I've run my own business. So before I start, I'm going to give you a very quick clip of what happened on the Apprentice about a year and a half ago.
The final of the Apprentice 2012. This is not about a job anymore. This is about me investing £250,000 into a business with one of you. What is your business idea?
It's an online platform that will revolutionise the online grocery market. It allows anybody to purchase ingredients for any recipe with a single click.
My online brain at the moment is ticking over already, so I'll be interested to hear how that's going to work.
It's very essential. It's an irrelevance. It's irrelevant. I think you're not the target market. I think the target market would say that it is actually a very useful tool. I struggle to know whether that's the case. This could become one of the big global players in the market, and I do truly believe that. It's just not worth the effort. That's not a fair comment, I don't think. You purchase 4 or 5 recipes at once. Who does? I mean, if you look at young families, there are sites.
No, it's time to plan out what they're going to eat every, Mondays lasagna, Tuesday, who does that?
There are families, lots of families do that.
Ever?
Yes.
I just don't see it. They're busy, they've got 2 kids or something like that. You know, they want to come in, make a quick meal, get the kids bath, get into bed.
I agree it's a complex business model, but 52% of people use online recipes, so there is a big market for it.
Are you smoking something?
That is an enormous software task. I think I asked myself this: why? For that reason, I'm going to say on this occasion.
We'll miss that part. I grew up in Switzerland. I moved here when I was 7, down south. You probably can tell from my accent. Went to Aston University, studied a degree in international business. I then did a placement year at Deutsche Bank, investment bank in Frankfurt. And before that, I'd always thought I wanted to work in a bank. I wanted to become an investment banker. And it was then when I was, sat, I think it was on the 15th, 20th floor or something, that I realised actually I wanted to do something a bit more creative. I wanted to do something that I felt mattered a little bit more. And I started kind of sketching out, while at my desk in Frankfurt, a concept for what was going to be my first business, Kogo Coffee. The idea was that we would sell coffee out of a 4-metre tall replica coffee cup. If you imagine this huge, massive coffee cup that we would place in streets all around the country. The idea being we could sort of mitigate the rent costs of putting a unit somewhere, and we could put it anywhere, so we could move it depending where the demand was. And what we would do is we'd sell coffee out of coffee cups which had adverts on the side. And we thought if we put adverts on the side, we could subsidise the cup of coffee, so offer it to the consumers at a cheaper price. We could make additional money from the advertisers who would pay us because the person is usually relaxing when they're drinking a cup of coffee, the caffeine's waking them up, the advert is right in front of them. What a great way to advertise. So in my final year of university, I started building the 4-metre tall coffee cup. We basically went to a fiberglass manufacturer just outside Birmingham. You can see it's quite a massive thing that we were building here. Then, as my final year came to an end, we went out and we sold adverts to people who want to advertise on our coffee cups. Aston University gave us the first location to put our unit, so the first set of advertisers were all people who wanted to advertise to students. At this point, I really had no idea what I was doing. I had studied a degree, which doesn't teach you really about how to run a business. It teaches you some really solid concepts about that are important in business, but it doesn't teach you how to set a business up. And hence, programs like Speed are really, really important. To give you an example of this, when buying these cups, I literally just searched in Google coffee cups. How do I get them printed? And I went to Alibaba.com. The minimum order was 20,000. I had no idea how big 20,000 cups were. They were shipped over from China. And when I had someone knocking on my door and said, I've got delivery for Nick Holzherr, I was expecting a delivery maybe this size. And the whole lorry came along and unloaded the entire load of cups into my house. My house was covered in boxes for the first sort of year of my business life, if you like. Problems didn't stop there. When we came to Freshers Week, where we had promised the advertisers we would distribute all the advertising, and the people who were manufacturing this massive fiberglass unit said, I'm really sorry, guys, we haven't finished it yet. It'll be there in a couple of weeks. But we'd borrowed money to set the business up from HSBC and from some family and friends. And we had spent about £40,000 in total by this point. And this is just after graduating, on making this fiberglass unit, buying all the coffee machinery, which is really quite expensive, and buying all the cups. So we borrowed a table from Aston University. We put the coffee machine on top of it and started selling cups of coffee from this table. And it was kind of, it's that kind of perseverance, I think, that you will need, especially when you first start up a business, if you want to try and make it. Now, we thought, we genuinely thought, we had a picture of the fiberglass unit when it would be finished on the right-hand side of that table, and it said coming soon, and we told everyone the unit will be here in 2 weeks, and that's what we were told. 6 months later, the unit still hadn't arrived, and we were basically selling cups of coffee in the snow, on a table still, to anybody who felt sorry enough for us to come and buy a cup of coffee from us. And it was really quite depressing because, we had turned down jobs to go back to investment banks, both me and my business partner at the time, and we were looking at each other, almost every day, think, shall we give up? This is an absolute disaster. Yes, we were in debt, but we can go back and get jobs, and it's probably not too late. So this is probably the hardest 6 months after I graduated is probably the hardest kind of time when I really questioned myself, do I really want to carry on with this business? But I think the perseverance paid off. Me and my business partner and I kept each other going. And 6 months, in January, February, the big unit did arrive, and we were one of the most popular outlets on campus for the next couple of years. And expanded to another outlet and opened up a few places and then sold it off to another coffee company, a local coffee company in Birmingham. On the side of this advertising business, we did something called QR codes, which is a 2D digital barcode you can scan with your mobile phone. This is about 4 years back, when they weren't as popular as they are now. You probably all have seen one of these before. But I then, on the back of that, built a technology platform that allowed people to manage content behind QR code systems and track analytics, etc. We signed up some big clients all over the world, some big blue chip companies as our clients. We probably had about 300-400 business clients for this. And it was at this time when I had an office in the centre of Birmingham with probably 3 or 4 guys and myself, so a team of 5 people, when a friend forwarded me an application form for The Apprentice. I didn't really, have any intention of going on the show. I watched very little TV anyway, but it was a very short form, and it was like 4 boxes of 20 words each, and I thought, why not? I may as well fill this out, it'd be a bit of fun. And they said, come to the audition. And I thought, well, maybe I'll meet someone from The Apprentice, it could be quite fun. So I'll go along. It was just in Birmingham, right across from my office. And I went along, and that's where they do the screen test, and they do all that little clip, that first interview you see of the candidates when the show first gets released, which says, meet the candidates. That was filmed, and I had no intention of going on the show at all. They then went through to the assessment centre in London and said, you're through to the last 80. I was like, definitely meet someone from The Apprentice this time. I'll definitely go to London. It'd be great to see how TV program's made. Zero intention of going on the show. And then I passed the psychology. You get sent to a psychologist. I passed that, so I'm not mad. Officially approved by the BBC. Don't put that on film. And they said, here's a contract. Do you want to come on the show? I thought, shit, I haven't actually thought. Do I actually want to go on this? I asked some of my friends. I've got some mentors. I think mentors are really, really important when running a business. And I've got some really trusted mentors in Birmingham that I still talk to, weekly now with my business, and it's really great to get an outside perspective. And I asked them, you know me quite well, you know my business quite well, you know where I'm going at the moment with this business. Do you think I should go on the show? And the resounding kind of answer from all my friends was, Nick, don't go on the show. You've got a posh accent. You'll come across as an arrogant twat. You'll be hated by the country. We really recommend you just stick with your business that you're doing at the moment. But I decided to go on anyway because I thought it'd be loads of fun. And actually, I'm really pleased I did. So, what's The Apprentice like? Is what the question I get asked by most people. It's 12 weeks of very, very different tasks. There's a huge amount of resource behind The Apprentice. I think they apparently spend something like £1 million on each episode. So you get to do challenges in business environments with partners and businesses and suppliers that you would never really be able to deal with in such a short period of time. So it really is a really kind of exciting experience. And you're doing things that you would never do, like selling art, selling art or making I can't remember what we made, some kind of burger that we sold in Edinburgh. But it's also a very, very tiring process. So you're being filmed, you get woken up when you're lying in bed and you've got a boom mic over your bed, and that's how you wake up. And there's a good morning, and they film you brushing your teeth and putting your tie on and the whole lot. And you're filmed until you finish, which is usually kind of 11, 12, at night, midnight. the tasks are 3 or 4 days long with a day in the boardroom, and they get run back to back. So essentially, it's kind of they tire you out kind of through and through sleep deprivation, get some really great clips of people making fantastic mistakes. So it is a really, really long process. Of course, it's loads of fun. I think this is a picture of Maria, which was obviously famously broadcast. We all fell asleep in the there's no way you could stay awake the whole time. They caught Maria doing this, I think, in week 2, which is very early on in the process, and really is no excuse for that. So before I go on some of the kind of lessons I've learned in running a business, which hopefully will be more useful to you than kind of the story stuff I've talked about so far, some frequently asked questions about The Apprentice I thought I'd answer. First question I always get asked is, boardroom suitcases, are they empty or are they full? So a quick show of hands, who thinks the boardroom suitcases are full? One person. Excellent. So you're right, they are full. So what happens is, every day before you go to the boardroom, you have to pack your mini suitcase. You go in the process with 2 suitcases. If you get fired, you have to live out of that little suitcase for about 48 hours. The other team goes back to the house. You go to a separate location. When the other team are out on the next task, you go back and pick up your stuff. So this kind of big myth of, those suitcases we roll in and out, are they full or not? They are. There's a little inside joke among the apprentice people that sometimes people get a bit cocky and think, I'm definitely not going to get fired, I'm not going to pack my suitcase, and everyone tries to get them fired. So it's quite a fun environment in the house. Next question I get often is, do you really have 20 minutes to get ready for every morning? Because you get the phone call and it says you've got 20 minutes to be ready for the cast. The answer is yes, you do have 20 minutes to get ready. However, some of the more vain people in the house wake up, especially they kind of guess what time the wake up time the next day is going to be, and they'll wake up at 6 a.m. or at 5 a.m. to go and do their hair and stuff. And if you want to know who those people are, just look at who picks up the phone when it rings, because everyone else is in bed and goes, I'm not picking up that phone. And it's the people doing their hair that wake up and pick up the phone. That's how you can tell who really cares about their looks. And then what's Lord Sugar, Nick and Karen like? So Lord Sugar's we only really see the same side of Lord Sugar as you see. So, the boardroom is a studio. It's a big factory building with this kind of little thing that looks like a boardroom. From the outside, it looks like a box. From the inside, it looks like a boardroom with cameras all around it and massive bright lights coming in the front and the top of it. And we're not actors. We're just, most of us everyone is just people who are in business. So they have to make it quite real for us, and he has to act like he does on TV. I'm sure he's got a really nice, friendly, cuddly side to him when he's not on TV. But on TV, he's just like you see him in the process. He's just like you see him on TV. And we only really see him in the briefing, which is for 20 minutes. We see him in the boardroom for 3 or 4 hours it takes to film the boardroom scene. And he will just sort of shout at you in the same way as he does on TV, and they pull out the right clips for you. And there's no real smiles or kind of sort of chit-chat or, cup of tea with him and shake his hand. There's nothing like that. And Nick and Karen are, actually really, really intelligent. A lot of respect, especially for Karen, who, is obviously involved in football clubs as well. But she, was a really great kind of mentor to have along the process and help us guide us through the tasks. So I got to the final. I pitched the idea to Lord Sugar. Obviously, didn't get investment from Lord Sugar. But coming off the show, we did get about just over £500,000 investment from a group of angels and venture capital groups in Birmingham and London. And we hired a team of, we're 20 people now, and just to give you a very quick reminder, we basically create shopping lists from recipes people can check out, integrate straight into any of the supermarkets. So you can find a recipe on Jamie Oliver, click add, and send it straight to Tesco, and it knows which items you need and buys the items from Tesco for you. So the business was launched. Just last month, we hit a milestone of 6 million impressions a month. We're on 80,000 recipes. We have 16 massive sites. We're with the biggest publishers. We're with the big brands. 15 of the big FMCG brands are now clients of ours. So the business has worked. Thankfully, we did get investment from some of the company, from local investors after being on the show. So from that side of things, the being on The Apprentice really, really helped. So what have I learned from all of this stuff? First part, which I think is kind of links into the Apprentice stuff, is don't dwell on rejection, but learn from it. So I think, obviously, it's very obvious what happened in The Apprentice in terms of rejection, but I think it happens in everyday business all the time, where you'll try and sell your product and you'll get rejected by almost everyone you go to. And what's important is that you don't ignore the reasons why they've rejected you. So either you are pitching the wrong people, or you're pitching it in the wrong way, or you're pitching something that's shit. So you need to work out which of those three it is, right? And that's kind of your job. And if someone rejects you, work out why they've rejected you. Don't just sort of go, oh well, they're an idiot, it wasn't for them, etc. It's usually your fault. And if you take the blame for that, then you can try and improve yourself and try and improve either how you pitch it, who you're pitching it to, or what you're doing, and become successful. So that's kind of what I'd say, from rejection. Don't let it put you off at all. I get rejected every single day from when I try and do sales or in something or other that I'm doing. But just make sure you learn from it and become better because of it. How many of you guys are looking to raise finance for your businesses? Cool. So when you're raising investment, most people, when they set a business up, if it's a big kind of scalable business they want to grow, is they'll do the first part themselves, and then once they've kind of proven the business model, they will try and raise investment to help them grow a bigger team and scale it and make it really, really big. So that's pretty much what we did as well. We raised 2 rounds of investments. We raised 1 round of investment to get to 1 milestone with technology, and then another round to help us grow it even more. And we'll probably be doing another round of investments in Q1 2014, so in 3-4 months' time. I'm hoping to raise around sort of £2 million for that to kind of make us international. But the investment raising process is really interesting, because the one thing that matters most when you pitch an angel or pitch a venture capital investor is they want to know what your business does, right? It sounds really simple, but what happens all the time with people who haven't done it before is they'll go too quickly into the financials or into the marketing strategy, or which is usually social media or something that's really, it's not unique at all. What most people want to know is, what does the business do and how do you make money, right? Those are the 2 things everyone cares about. Everything else is somewhat irrelevant. If you do a really bad job of pitching the financials and the marketing stuff, you have to come across as credible, right? So they have to believe in you as a team, and different investors invest in teams, some investors invest in product. But really, really, really important is that you get across what the business does and how it makes money. Now, raising investment takes a very, very long time, much longer than you think. So if let's say you're raising £100,000, which is kind of a small angel investment round, it'll take you maybe 6 months to get to a point of someone saying, I want to invest in your company. So this is like making business plans, pitching what's investment, go to angel groups and pitch your idea in front of them, have introductions through Speed or through other entrepreneurs that haven't raised investment already. Loads of ways of getting in front of angels. But it'll take you quite a while for someone to actually give you a piece of paper or a verbal, I want to invest in your company. From that point on, to close the round will probably take, closing it means the money's in your bank. The money's literally in your bank. It's not someone has said, I'll give you money, it's the money's in your bank. That process takes about as long as the first part, which is going from start of the process to people saying yes. It's amazing how long it takes for people to put money into your bank. So remember that. What will happen is they'll go on holiday. They'll want to know who else will put money into the bank first. You have to write all your investment documents, so shareholder documents, articles of association. There's loads of documentation that goes around it. Then you'll have to go to lawyers who have to do kind of the money laundering process. It takes forever, and then in the middle of that, a couple of investors will go off on holiday, and then the whole process will wait another 2 weeks, and the next investor will go on holiday. It's a nightmare. The positive news is I don't think there's ever been a better time to raise investment than right now. The government has something called EIS and SEIS. Who's heard of that before? No? So SEIS, and basically what the government does, as long as the business that a private individual is investing into, they will give the investor a 98% guarantee on the money they're investing. So if they invest £100,000 and your business fails, the government will give them back £98,000 in tax relief. So obviously this means that the investor has to be relatively well off to be paying enough tax, to be paying £98,000 of tax. But most of the people you'll be going for investment with are, right? They do pay that much tax. So there's the whole industry, the whole playing field in investment has changed hugely in the last 3 or 4 years. And there are so many private individuals looking to put money into businesses because they know that if the business fails, the government's backing it. So my business, we raised £150,000 on this thing called SCIS, which is the limit of SCIS. You can raise up to £150,000 backed by the government. And then the next part is called EIS, where it's from £150,000 up to, I think, £500,000, which is then back through EIS, where the government gives the investor back 50%. But for you as a company, you've basically got this asset, right, which is £150,000 of tax relief that you choose who gets this tax relief. You have to give them a certificate, which is your kind of asset to give to investors when they're investing. If you're pitching to a private individual and they don't know about SCIS, EIS, tell them about it. But you're probably talking to an inexperienced investor in that case, and it'd probably be even harder to get them across the line because it might be their first investment they're doing, etc. So that's kind of positive news. Investors all want monetization. So the days of creating a Facebook and saying we'll work out how to make money later, which is what happened essentially when Mark set up Facebook, and exactly the same thing happened at Twitter. They're all saying we're focusing on getting users. We want to get loads and loads of people using the service. We're going to work out how we make money later. Those days, especially in the UK, are over. They're over in the US as well. There's a myth that in the US people give money much more easily. I don't think it's as true as you think it is. It's true in some cases. In advertising, New York is fantastic. In technology, San Francisco's quite good. But actually, the UK market's quite good for raising investment as well. So don't have this dream about going to the US and raising money at a better valuation or more money than you'd get ever in the UK. It probably won't happen. It might happen if you're lucky, but it probably won't happen. Everyone wants to know where's the money coming from, right? How are you making money? So, I think that's kind of, in your business, your product's really important, and how you're going to make money is really, really important. Kind of a warning, I guess, when running a company, right? Is this is a graph that I put together about half a year ago, or a year ago. I tracked what I thought my kind of emotions were while over the last 4 or 5 years versus what they would have been if I'd taken a job. Now, if you take a job, and the yellow line is the job kind of route. You feel quite good when you graduate, you've got a job, you realise it's quite boring, your motivations dip a little bit, you get a company car, it goes up a little bit, you kind of hover around the middle as up and downs happen, but you're generally kind of averagely, you're not massively emotional, you're not depressed, but you're not overly happy, you're kind of okay about it. There's obviously exceptions to this. I think when running your own business, you feel fantastic at the beginning. You're like, wow, I've got my own business, I've got director on my business card, and then you realise, shit, it's failing. Nothing's working, no one's buying my product, I haven't got a job, maybe I should get a job now. And then what happens is your business starts to get a little bit more successful, and you still feel fantastic. You're like, wow, I'm making it on my own. And then your key employee leaves, and you feel really terrible again. How are you going to replace them ever? And you find a fantastic employee, and it goes up again. It's basically a roller coaster. And I think it's definitely worth it because those high times are amazing. But you have to be prepared that you're likely also to go through times where things are quite depressing. And that hasn't really changed. I think what happens is as you get more successful, you set your expectations much, much higher. So you don't kind of, you don't get to £100,000 a month turnover and suddenly you go, okay, I've made it, cool, I'll go on holiday. You're going to go, right, and now I want £1 million turnover, and then your expectations rise, and you get depressed and disappointed by by different problems. So this kind of, be prepared if you're going to run your own company. Your emotions will be all over the place. With people who set businesses up from the start, who haven't done it before, I often hear this people are scared to share their ideas with other people, and I think it's, unless you're in kind of, medicine or kind of some kind of formula that you can patent, you really should share your idea with as many people as you can. If your idea is copyable by sharing it with someone over a cup of coffee, you will fail very, very, and you haven't got anything else that differentiates you, you will fail very, very quickly as soon as you launch. Most businesses, and I'd say 99% of businesses, are about execution. It's not about the idea. The idea is, and there's lots of actually literature around this, right? The idea is literally 1%, if that. 99% is about your ability to be able to make that business work. And if you think you're unique in the market right now, as soon as you launch, if you've got a good concept, you'll probably find 50 other competitors around the world doing exactly what you're doing as well. And that's positive, right? It shows there's a market for what you're doing. It shows that people are buying it, the business model works, and you're doing it here. If you can execute better, you can do better than them, or you can do as well as them, and you can make a big business. So not every business has to be unique. I think that's kind of a misconception of businesses as well. But what's really, really important is that you share your ideas. Share your ideas with as many people as you can. Get as much feedback from family, from friends. That's great. They'll probably give you nice advice, like, it's a great idea, Nick, I love your idea, it's great, Nick. Actually, go to people who you don't know, who don't sort of like you, or don't know you, and tell them the idea, and see what they say to you about your idea, and try and get some really honest feedback. And I often, when I go to someone for feedback, I'll tell them, look, I want your genuine, honest feedback. I don't want any kind of fuzzy, I like it, Nick. I want you to tell me exactly what you think and tell me the negatives about what you think about my business. Because I really want to understand how I can be better. I don't want encouraging fluffy feedback of great. It's a great idea, Nick. Then when you're actually getting advice, or if you're selling, or if you're managing, or whatever it is that you're doing, listen to what feedback you get, right? So make sure you really try and understand what people are saying, because generally what will happen is people will listen to the feedback that they agree with, they're doing already, and they'll disagree with everything else they're not doing already. But what's really important that you listen to stuff that you weren't doing or that you disagree with as well. Try and understand what they're saying. Really try and take it in. I think overall, the only thing that's really important in business is initiative and common sense, and that's really what you need. I haven't really had that much experience in any of the fields specifically that I've gone into. I've just used common sense to kind of work out roughly what to do. So, when I did the coffee business, I didn't really know what kind of coffee to buy. I just borrowed the Aston University student bus. I drove to, I think it's 30 different roasteries over the course of a week, tried every kind of coffee, worked out which one I liked best, listened to the different pitches, and chose one, right? Just common sense, really. You don't need to be an expert. You can just work it out through initiative and common sense. I think it's really important to make sure you brand yourself and your business well. That goes from the obvious things like social media, etc. But your business as well, if you look at, I think something that I've done quite well in my businesses, in all of them, is I've always gone to a professional graphic designer, got a professional logo, made a really kind of professional brochure or website or whatever it is that I'm making. Make sure that because that's kind of the first impression people look at, and that's how they're going to decide whether they're going to buy from you, whether they're going to have a meeting with you, whether they're going to help you, whatever it is you're looking for from them. But branding is really, really important, I think, and both yourself and your business. Because I think especially in the early days, people look at you as the brand, and they look at, okay, they're making this business, but who's behind it? And make sure you think about that. I think it's really, really important to be execution focused. Don't spend too long theorizing with ideas and stuff. Get stuff done. So look at where you want to be in a few years in time. Create an action plan of how to get there, and then start making those actions happen. Don't spend too long kind of on the theory side of things. Make sure you actually get stuff done. Now, there's this big thing that it happens to anybody who's creative, and I can probably think that maybe 80% of you here will have this problem in the future. And I definitely had this problem, and I still have this problem, and I have to remind myself of the graph I'm going to show you in a minute constantly. And it's from a book called Making Ideas Happen by Scott Belsky, and he calls it the Project Plateau. And what he says, and it's entirely true, and he's got this from, I think he interviewed literally hundreds of thousands of businesses around the world, looked at their performance, looked at entrepreneurs, creative people who are setting businesses up. And he basically says that when you have a new idea, the energy and excitement is really, really high, and you feel fantastic. As you start to go through sort of execution process, things don't get as exciting anymore, because it's actually about running a business and doing some of the more boring things like HR and finance and invoicing and stuff that we all hate to do probably, unless you're an accountant, in which case I apologise. But what happens is you'll start business up and you feel really, really excited about it. And as you start to kind of make it happen, the excitement and energy starts to go down. And when you hit this project plateau stage, it's kind of the low part of exciting, which is kind of the average exciting in a job, right? It's not particularly lower than any other job, but you're kind of hitting the normal job excitement level. That's when a lot of people will come up with a new idea and focus their time on the new idea, where the energy excitement is great again. You'll leave this other idea, which actually probably had potential on the side, and you'll start a new idea. And the same thing will happen to that. And you have this graveyard of ideas behind you, and you don't actually ever get any single one done. What Scott shows in his kind of research is actually, if you stick with an idea on this project plateau piece, as the business starts to become successful and you start to get big clients and you start to get a good team behind you, the energy and excitement starts to grow again, and you'll go up and up and up, and it'll be fantastic, and you'll make loads of money, and you'll be millionaires, and you'll change the world. So that's kind of the idea curve piece. And if you, for those of you who haven't been through this already, you might go through this, and try not to go through this, because I set up too many businesses before I started to focus on one, which is what I'm doing at the moment. On personal development, I think I see it with employees, I see it with other people working, my friends who work in businesses, I see it with almost everyone in the world. People expect to be taught by someone else, or told by someone else what to do to develop themselves. Don't wait for speed to tell you do this, this, and this, and this, set your business up. Work it out yourself, right? This is kind of what it's about running your own business. You make the decisions. So the internet now is just so much information around how to run a business, how to, especially you'll probably find 1,000 articles which describe how to run a business in the field you're in already. Do your own research, work out yourself what you need to do to become better at what you do. Don't just follow kind of pre-made courses. They're useful as well, but don't just follow pre-made kind of syllabuses of information or programs and rely on them for your success. Work out yourself how you're going to teach yourself the right skills to run your business. And I think one of the massive things that I'm thankful for in running my own business for the last 4 or 5 years is actually I'm learning a huge amount every single day. And some of that is kind of through the experiences I have every day, and some of it is because I spend an hour or so every day trying to find out what else I need to learn and trying to teach myself about things on management, on the field I'm in, on technology, on all sorts of different things. So make sure you do your own personal development. On the branding side of yourself, if you write your own blog or if you write your own, I've even seen new entrepreneurs who write their own books, which is maybe a little bit early, but it's amazing. If people who've written a book, even if no one's bought it and they say I'm an author of how to run a business, etc., it does wonders for their personal branding. So think about writing your own blog, try and do your own research and do your own personal development. So finally, before we go on to the question and answer part, I think we're probably going to have a cup of coffee before that, I'm not sure, but I'll leave you with a quote, which is one of my favourite quotes from Steve Jobs. And he says, "Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that are no smarter than you." And if you read the full kind of quotation behind what he's saying there, it's basically, the managers, the people running the businesses, they don't know anything. They don't have any special skill compared to the people who are working in the businesses. The only difference is they've had the balls to go and actually set the business up and say, I'm the manager, I'm going to start employing people. I think that's entirely true. There is no real kind of, you don't need any kind of special skill to run a business, right? You need common sense, hard work, do your own personal development, and yeah, good luck everyone.